Hi, I'm Jack Barruzini, and you're listening to The Secret to Stargate, where we talk about the hidden meanings and deeper layers found in the Stargate movies, TV series, and more. And joining me today are Jeff Haecker. Hello, Jeff.
Yeah.
And Lisa Jones. Hi, Lisa.
Hey, Jack.
And Victor Lambs. Hey, Victor.
Hi, Jack.
Today we are discussing the 12th episode of Season 2 of Stargate Atlantis, Epiphany. And if you've ever wondered what it would be like to see the Predator hunt the polyphonic spree, this is the episode for you. While scouting a planet, the Atlantis team discovers a mysterious doorway emitting energy readings within a massive crater. Upon investigation, Shepard passes through the doorway but finds himself trapped as time inside the barrier flows drastically faster than outside. Days turn into months for Shepard as he struggles to survive in the hidden valley where the inhabitants believe they are meant to ascend and cannot leave. He encounters a dangerous creature and tries to convince the pacifist villagers to fight for their survival. Meanwhile, McKay and the team outside realize the extreme time dilation and work to find a way to rescue Shepard, who ultimately helps the villagers confront their fears, leading to their mass ascension and an offer to join him, when he declines before the barrier is opened and the team is able to return to Atlantis. What are your thoughts on this episode, Jeff?
This one was okay. It's not one of my favorite episodes, but I mean, most episodes I at least find okay and find watchable. The time dilation thing was interesting because I think we've seen it. Not necessarily one team member is trapped in a time dilation field compared to others. We've seen similar things where someone's trapped or on another world or something, and they're trying to find it. But I can't remember if we've seen time dilation used this way. So that was interesting in watching McKay kind of figure it out and try to figure out, how can we get him back? We need to get him supplies. Like all that I really liked, and how they're trying so hard, working as a team to get Shepard back. The stuff inside the village was not as interesting. I think we've kind of always talked about how the ancients aren't the most interesting people. They're all, they're very like, we must be peaceful and descend in order to achieve enlightenment. And that's just not that interesting. So that part was okay. And the kind of the resolution of because I remember seeing this and I remember what happened, but I know when you first watch it, it's like there's this predator-like creature, like you said, and you're like, oh, that's really interesting. But in the end, it's it's just a trick, trying to trick us into thinking we can protect ourselves and be brave. So I didn't really like that part, but it was an okay episode.
What about you, Lisa?
There are parts of this I really enjoyed. Of course, when you talk about the ancients there, Jeff, and their meditation and their whatever, it makes me go like, oh yeah, I don't really like them that much. but I really thought Rodney was a star of this episode because of acting so quickly, figuring it out. And he wasn't at all, arrogant or rude, just a little bit, Conan and what do you say? Conan and Shira.
Xena,
yeah.
Which is funny because Jason Momoa then played Conan in the reboot of Conan the Barbarian many years later.
That's right.
Yeah. And then I really like Joe Flanagan. I thought that he as Shepard did a fabulous job. This was a lot like SG-1's 100 Days in a way, where Jack was on a planet, assimilated into the culture, romanced a woman, and then get kind of waited for his team. And but I liked the way Shepard or Joe Flanagan portrayed it. And then the time dilation field, I thought this was a great use of it. We've not seen something like this. We've seen it used with the replicators. We've seen it used with the black hole, but this was, I liked it, where the one character doesn't know what's going on, and then you realize it's been 6 months, but we didn't have to have the Atlantis expedition trying to figure out the problem for 6 months. So that was kind of nice. It just sped the whole thing up. I liked it.
I like the way he found that out by checking the timestamps on the camcorder and seeing that the battery had run out. Like just those little details. That was very clever.
Yeah.
What about you, Victor?
Yeah, I really like this episode too. I like the sense of urgency that we get in it when Rodney realizes what's happening. It's all go, 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 go. And people are like, what's the hurry? And he's like, if it takes us a week or a month to find him, he'll have died of old age, and you're like, oh yeah, they better get moving. So I remember when I first watched this, I was like, oh no, Shepard spent like 6 months there. He has been cut off from the outside world for 6 months of his life, and when he comes back in, he'll be 6 months older than everybody else. Maybe that's not how age works, but I really like it. I like McKay in this episode a lot. I like Ronan and Taylor in this episode. I like Shepard in this episode. I like that. So Brad Wright, I just checked, he wrote both 100 Days and this episode.
Oh.
This episode he wrote with the story with Joe Flanagan. But yeah, and I you could tell it's not a Robert C. Cooper episode because they kind of deflate the ascension process a little bit here. It's like people trying to ascend are like the most boring, like listless people. And they're so like repressed that they've created this fear monster because they're afraid of everything basically. And they haven't lived at all. So I kind of like how we kind of, take the air out of that process a little bit. But yeah, I like this episode a lot.
This is one of the second time in the past couple of weeks I've watched something where Jason Momoa is present while someone gets pulled unwillingly through a portal. That's basically what happens in the Minecraft movie.
Yeah, we don't get any lava chicken songs or anything in this, though.
Unfortunately not.
No, yeah.
But yeah, I liked this is like I think McKay is at his best in these kind of episodes because when he's actually like actively solving a problem, he's working with what he has and what's going on, and he's not just standing around kind of just yelling at things, which I feel like sometimes you get McKay and they don't really have something for him to do, so he just starts making comments and being afraid of things. But I like it when he's in problem solving mode, and he's still McKay, so he's still kind of abrasive to people, but he's actually pushing forward with trying to find a solution, and I really like that.
Yeah, one of the funniest moments there is, later on in the episode, he has this idea to drop this probe through the field and get some telemetry to see exactly like where the energy source is located, how fast time is passing. And Weir's like, wow, that's a great idea. Well done, Rodney. And he's like, well, yes, it was Zelenka's idea. Yeah. Like under his breath,
Which is a big thing for him to admit it was somebody else's idea.
Yeah.
Of course, it didn't work.
It's I like that it really demonstrates his kind of friendship with Shepard. Like they're still kind of they still have that little bit of rivalry, antagonistic relationship, but Rodney really does care for his team because he maybe if it was a red shirt, he may not have been like, oh, we need to do more tests, we need to figure this out or whatever. Oh, there might be a ZPM there, maybe he can find it while he's over there. But no, it's Shepard, it's his good friend, and he's going to do move with as much haste as he can to try to solve it. So I did like that, and I think the next Atlantis episode is also a really good McKay one too. So we've gotten a lot of good McKay stuff in the last couple Atlantis episodes.
And I will say I really like the way they wrote Taylor in this episode too, because when Rodney's jumps into this, something major is going on, I don't have time to explain it to you. They don't write her as clueless, they write her as quick to catch on. I understand, this is what I'm going to do, and the way with the, what was it, the watch and the video camera and calculating the time. Yeah. The branch. I mean, she just, where they're still kind of writing, Ronan as you're not really sure what they're going to do with him yet. There's no physical whatever to do in this episode. So he's just like handing him the big log instead of a branch. There's just like, what do you do with him? But I like the way it's like Taylor has become like she's handed off that role to Ronan. So now she gets to be helpful.
Yeah, it definitely works better with their dynamic.
The other thing I really like about this episode, although it's not quite as pronounced or noticeable, is the way they handle when they flip back and forth between kind of, our time stream and the, Shepard's time dilation thing, where he's like waiting around, he's run out of rations and stuff. And then, it's only a few minutes before they realize what's going on, and they throw their pack through, but to Shepard, it's been, potentially days. And he's like, thanks for the, 3 canteens of water, and the handful of power bars. I've been here for, who knows how long. And there's a long scene with Shepard that takes place in the time when they're basically just cracking the branch off the tree.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
And so when they, cut back and forth between the times, I think they do that very effectively.
And also when this is more towards the end, but when the rest of the team come through, McKay and Weir, he goes through first, and then she steps through, and he's like sitting on the ground waiting for her, and he's already been waiting for like 10 minutes. Like that showed that very effectively.
Yeah, I like that because you're not quite sure about the time dilation, and you're not sure how bad it is. But so when you're watching it, you're thinking, Shepard is saying things like, I've run out of water. And you're like, dude, how long has it been? And then you start realizing it's been days for him, not just a couple. You're thinking hours. Like, you're not thinking the time dilation is that bad. So I like the way that they spread it out, and they kind of delayed showing you how bad it was for Shepard. Of course, he makes the quip about he doesn't have a volleyball. He doesn't have a Wilson.
Yeah.
Tom Hanks and Castaway. That was pretty good.
Yeah.
And he stays in that one area for a surprisingly long amount of time. Like it was like a week or something at least before he.
Yeah. He did scout out, he said, around, but couldn't see anything, nearby. And it wasn't because he kept thinking, they're going to come for him. They're going to send me more supplies. And eventually when he runs out of water that he has to go a little further afield.
Mm-hmm. And he's mad.
No pun intended. Yeah. Oh yeah.
And he's mad. And he keeps, yelling into his radio.
Up until he smashes it against the wall. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, so we get to see a lot of our cave set that we first saw in Avalon on SG-1, and we've seen it in almost every episode since. The outside of the cave with the trees and stuff, that's actually the cave set, and they just brought in like a whole bunch of trees to make it look like it's in a forest into their studio there. And then when they shot the Shepard stuff, it's the same set, just with all the trees removed and dark.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
pretty effective because I did not notice.
Mm-mm. Can we talk for a minute about why they sent someone through this portal?
Malp on a Stick said it was okay. I
Yeah.
mean, that makes me laugh every time he says that. Malp on a Stick.
Need that ZPM.
There's so many things that happen in these. I know it's like wouldn't have a plot if they didn't do stupid things. But how many times do they just throw caution to the wind or intelligence and be like, oh, what could possibly go wrong?
Because the ancients have designed this portal that once you touch it, like there's no going back. It basically sucks you through, and the longer it takes to suck you through, the more painful it is because your body's like living in two different times. Yeah, and McKay does have the presence of mind to tell, as Ronan and Taylor are trying to pull him out, don't touch the portal because they'll get sucked in too. So he does figure that out very quickly.
Yeah.
Doesn't Rodney know some ancient?
I thought he did because he could speak Wraith, right? And
yeah,
I mean, nobody can read this, so that's why they need Weir. It's like a class system in a role-playing game or something. It's like, you don't have ancient skill. You need to bring the party member that has ancient reading skill. I mean,
it gave her something to do and she got off world, but still.
Yeah, well, McKay probably has a translation program set up anytime he's like, I'm going to write a macro and this translates everything so I don't have to learn ancient. So he's probably has a very basic understanding at best. Whereas, Weir is a linguist, since she's a diplomat and speaks many languages and stuff. So
he's no Daniel Jackson.
Yeah.
No.
Nowadays, you just take a picture and give it to ChatGPT, ask it to translate.
Exactly.
Maybe Rodney created ChatGPT.
Yeah.
Maybe ChatGPT is Rodney.
That's an idea. Make a Stargate language learning model and have it be McKay.
I'm going to do that. Yeah, and we get so after he runs out of food and water, he ventures out into the valley where he is immediately confronted by this very very hippie looking man with his little goatee,
soul patch.
Yeah. I was expecting that Rusted Root song to start playing.
Yeah.
Send me on my way.
So on my way.
And they get attacked by the invisible predator looking alien.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that was so they have a stuntman in a suit, that they then, do the CG over, but because it was outside and there's like a blue sky and a green grass, they couldn't dress him in a blue suit or a green suit like they normally would.
Yeah.
So they dressed up this 6 foot tall stunt guy in a bright pink suit. And so they had all sorts of, rude names for what this creature looked like is just this huge guy running around in a skin tight pink suit. But creature I don't think was all that effective. Personally, I don't think they needed to make him invisible to have it work as kind of a fear monster.
They made him invisible because it's easier to do. The budget.
I don't even know if that's true, but maybe. I mean,
I kind of liked it because you didn't know, is it real? Is it not? Is it like, can you touch it? And we find that out pretty fast. But I kind of, we've had so many different monsters over the years, and this one let you use your imagination a little bit. So
yeah, he's kind of a tulpa or something.
Yeah, it made me think of like I said, Predator, but also the Next Generation episode Darmok. That alien they got to fight.
Creature, yeah.
Similar concept.
It's a much better episode.
Yeah, I like how Shepard keeps losing to the creature and basically getting killed, and then revived by the little girl in the village so everybody in the village of these people who are very close to ascending. And this is another thing that like I don't get about the episode, but we can get to it. Everybody has their own special powers, and she has the power of like healing touch, and I forget what the other powers are, but expert basket weaving,
sight.
Sight. Yeah,
viewing, remote viewing.
Yeah, remote viewing. Yeah, and pre
Project Stargate.
Yeah, and her mom could move.
Yeah, yeah. Before presumably she turned into a space squid. So what I don't get is the ancients set this up like 10,000 years ago, right? And then they die out, and then at some point they say centuries ago, but you have to wonder what time, like centuries to them could be like. Okay, it was like,
a week ago,
6 months ago, this spacefaring civilization showed up and parked all their people on this planet, and then very quickly they all ascended or had kids, and then their kids ascended. Mm-hmm. And now these are the only people that's left. So they want to set up this, like, we came here ages ago. But as you mentioned, really, it could have only been like 6 months, that they've been there in our time.
And they don't really touch on that at all.
Yeah.
Which I feel like that was an interesting idea. Like, these people living in this little enclave, it's been hundreds and hundreds of years for them, but they could have done something like there's a spaceship parked right outside the portal that's been here for like a month.
Yeah.
And then these are the descendants of those people.
And did everyone ascend?
Yeah.
Did no one was unsuccessful.
They have a little bit of Amidala touch or something.
Yeah. Yeah, that would have been funny if like there's just one guy who like
togetherness let them ascend.
He's just standing out there at the end. He's like, "Aw."
Yeah. Or like one old person. Like it's just taken them longer.
Nope,
but they're all young.
Can't make me ascend. Don't want to. Don't need to. I'll die here. Yeah.
Pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah. And then they all just meditate.
Yeah.
And then they send him out to fight the
tulpa creature.
They're all wimps.
Creature.
Yeah.
And then he's like, are y'all, like you disappear. And then they're like, we'll come watch you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting. Like, did the people who did ascend, did they confront this fear and then it let them ascend and they just didn't tell the others? Or, you have to figure it out yourself in order to cross that,
What is the secret to ascension? Can't come back. I don't know how it works. Goodbye, folks. The Wizard of Oz.
Well, and it's trying to, like, because the ancients, they were able to ascend because they were an advanced human species that progressed to that point. So presumably these people are like maybe they were further along in the evolution, in their evolution than, our brand of humans. Like maybe maybe they've been there for a long, long time. So they've been able to, genetically advance, but then it's like they must have had a lot of people in order to kind of have a population that lasts that long and is kind of winded down to the 20 people or whatever that are there.
They're just living in their little pottery barn like huts.
Yeah.
Well, you think about it. They've been there allegedly for generations, and no one built a more substantial structure. And they have orchards and crops, and
they don't get scared of the bugs.
Dragon fruit.
Yeah.
No bugs. They're so the inside of this like field is a artificial climate basically that the ancients set up, so they could have no bugs. But yeah, I like how it kind of demystifies like the ascension process. Like these people are all boring wimps, they're not more advanced.
little hippie.
Yeah,
and they all wore shades of colors, all in the same kind of reddish, pinkish, orange, tones. And I thought that was boring. I mean, it just all like no variety. And once Shepard starts calling them out on it about not living their lives, you're like, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
yeah. Like, what do you mean? We sit on our butts all day. It's just not living.
They don't even have to like work or, it's like manna from heaven. Like it's all just given to you and you just sit around and contemplate it and pray. And it was like, wait a minute.
At least their clothes ascend with them and they're not just like when they go up there, their
true.
clothes are just like on the ground.
The rapture.
Yeah.
It made me think of...
We've learned that ascension brings your clothes, but de-ascension, you don't bring your clothes back with you. So...
I thought Daniel chose to de-ascend naked or something.
Yeah, because Orlin didn't.
It was his choice.
That's true. The whole scene with the meditation and Shepard getting just more and more frustrated with how boring these people are made me think of... There's an episode of SpongeBob where Squidward goes to live in this like squid. It's like a gated community for all squids, and it's just... He loves it at first, but it gets increasingly more like boring and sad until he finally loses his mind. And that's what I was thinking of.
I don't want to ascend.
Just listening to smooth jazz and exercising.
Yeah. And then the one girl is different. The sister, everyone else is meditating and she's like following him around like a little puppy dog or something,
Yeah, and we get like the weird Marty McFly Back to the Future thing where they dwell on like, who changed my clothes? She's like, it was me. And he's like, oh, you saw me naked, did ya?
His name's Calvin Klein.
Yeah. And you're just like, do we really need that?
In that moment, though, I was just glad it wasn't like the little girl going like, oh. I was like, no.
It was the invisible monster. but later on they do hit it off, and it's after Shepard has run to the cave and then run back, and the funniest line aside from Malp on the stick is when she's like, we're going to get intimate, and he's like, well, I wish you would have told me before I took that 10-hour run.
Yeah
that was good. Yeah, then she just got a little creepy. Like,
and
I've been watching you.
Yeah.
She doesn't ask him. She's like, I've been watching you in my mind and I've known about you my entire life and we're going to do this now.
Which is...
And he's like,
2 days, right? I mean, it's like her lifetime is like 4 of our Earth days. So like watching it like, oh, yeah, I saw what you had for breakfast yesterday. That was really interesting.
And this is his second time basically hooking up with an ancient, isn't it?
Yeah.
They do mention that, yeah.
Yeah, McKay says, another one?
Yeah, what is it with you and ascended women?
He's got a type.
That's true. She wasn't ascended yet. She was almost ascended. This one.
Yeah. And when they first meet, she says, like, thank the ascended ones or something, or and he's like, there aren't any of those around, are there? which you could take a number of different ways.
He's like, where's that
Yeah.
ex-girlfriend?
Yeah.
Yeah. I do like when they finally decide to come out and help him, but they're just going to watch. They're arguing
Yeah.
about whether or not they can help. And then
Yeah.
she just
Yeah.
is like, oh no, it's all in our minds. It's fine.
And then it gets really big because I guess there's more of them to be afraid of it. And it's like the monster is like, kaiju size. And that's not a problem. They can
Nope.
just think it away.
Mm-hmm.
So this time dilation field, like I was thinking about it, and it's like, so does it go like, is it just like a bubble? Does it go down to the ground? Does it cover like, is it like a sphere where everything's inside it? And how does that, is it gas permeable? I feel like because you'd have things automatically moving way, way, way faster as soon as they hit that barrier and move through it. Like there should be like some bizarre like weather around this. And what happens to like water when it flows in there through the ground?
The ancients did it.
Yeah.
The wizard did it.
Space magic.
Magical
Yeah.
boots.
Yeah.
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 With a ZPM, you can do anything.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, time's passing faster on the inside. I don't know. That's pretty interesting. I guess they have outhouses or something. I didn't really think about that.
They probably
But,
figured
yeah.
that out.
Yeah.
The brother, the hip, what'd you call him, Jack? The hippy dippy guy?
Yeah. The
Long hair.
rusted
He-
root guy.
Been in 2 SG1 episodes. He was in Demons and Korai.
Okay.
Hmm.
I thought that he looked very familiar, and yeah,
Mhm.
now that you say that, I was like,
Yeah.
I thought it was that guy, but he looked different enough that I didn't bother to go look it up. So
Yeah. He looks
did look
pretty
familiar.
much the same in all 3 episodes.
I guess he looked bigger in this one to me for some reason. Like, don't
Okay,
know.
Victor, your cup looks like the monster.
yeah.
Like,
Ooh, I'm a monster.
where you could just see the outline.
Be afraid of the cup.
It's-
Your cup's getting bigger.
Is there something behind me?
He kind
Oh,
of
I
gave
forgot
me
to change my graphic. Oh no. That's
Uh-oh.
very unprofessional of me.
he kind of gave me George, Brendan Fraser and George of the Jungle vibes.
He
brother.
did, yeah.
He had that kind of energy.
I
It's
will note
terrifying.
that when they filmed, beautiful sky, unless it was fake.
Yeah.
But it was just, it looked like the most gorgeous Vancouver-esque days that they were out there filming. And I did wonder, how do they film when they're outside the majority of the time? And I mean, you can't just order weather. So it just crystal blue skies.
I think this was like they filmed this over the 1 week of summer that they get up there. So it was filmed over the hiatus. So when you see Shepard with his beard, that's because the beard scenes were filmed after they'd come back from like their, I don't know, few week long break. And Joe Flanagan had had a chance to grow out his beard a little bit. And I think it was just, they just happened to get, those beautiful summer days.
Gorgeous.
Nice.
And-
yeah.
He can definitely
Soul
grow
Patch
some
Guy
hair.
Yeah.
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 But how did Soul Patch Guy maintaining his? Like, must have had a razor or something, or maybe that's his power, is he can control his beard.
I can control my facial hair at will. Watch this.
He should use pure fear to keep it in shape.
Yeah. He goes to the little girl. She's like, well, technically this isn't a medical emergency, but I guess I can make your hair grow back into your head if you want me to.
Awesome. Do we have any alternate language titles for this episode?
Yes, we do. In French, we get Tempus Fugit, which is Tempus Fugit, or, time is flying, time flies.
Hmm.
So that's a good one. And then in Japanese, we get Sanko Chuari, which is sanctuary.
Nice.
Yeah. So.
Awesome. Do y'all have any other thoughts on this episode?
I'm trying to think. I like it. I like the main kind of like science fiction conceit, and I do like the sense of urgency that we see with the Atlantis crew as they realize they're under the they're on the clock and have to figure this out. So that part I liked a lot.
The B plot was definitely the highlight.
Yeah.
I thought it was very enjoyable. I mean, all kind of joking about the boring ancients. I don't know. It was well done, and I really enjoyed watching it. So
yeah,
I'll give it 2 thumbs up.
What about you, Jeff?
Yeah, I mean, it was like I said. The McKay stuff is the best part. What's going on outside the bubble is the more interesting than what's going on inside. So, but yeah, very good episode for McKay, and yeah, like Taylor's moments, and even Beckett got a little bit like, why do you need a doctor? Well, what if he's injured on the other side? Oh yeah, good point. Like so,
yeah.
And they did reference Cadman, so that he has a date with Cadman. So from the duet episode. So yeah, it was an okay one. Again, enjoyable enough, but yeah. Glad we don't get too many like boring ancient type of episodes like this.
And no Wraith.
No Wraith,
yeah. Yeah, seemed like.
I just realized last week we had no Ori. This week we had no Wraith. So both episodes, and in both episodes, the Colonel gets the girl. So
yeah,
awful coincidental.
Although this week it's kind of because this is kind of a refuge from the Wraith is kind of why it's there. Yeah. So it's they're at least mentioned, whereas in the last one, the Ori were not mentioned at all. So
they could have had a Wraith cruiser come in and start shooting at the bubble.
Yeah. And McKay, he wants to get the ZPM, but then they say, no, this place must stand for any who may want it. So, and, there's hints of, will Shepard come back and ascend one day and get reunited with the village? So.
Nope.
Probably not. Yeah.
Yeah.
They'll get distracted.
I do like, as you mentioned, how McKay is thinking like up to the end that we can just grab the ZPM, and she's like, absolutely not. I will not allow this, So
I kind of like that they didn't just now that they were all ascended, they didn't just destroy it. So opens the possibilities.
Be a cool place to go, like if you're waiting for something and you don't want to wait, like if it's like July and you're really excited about Christmas because you're going to get like a Switch 2 or something, and you're like, I can't wait till Christmas. I'll just go to the Sanctuary Planet and pop in for a few minutes. Oh wait, no, it goes the wrong way.
It's the wrong way. Wait.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I think Aesop had like a ball of string that had a similar ability. Yeah, you'd come out and it'd be next Christmas.
Or it would just be like 2 minutes closer to Christmas and you'd be old and you'd be like, yeah.
I want my Switch.
Well, you could go in and you could go in and then, well, no, you're right. Never mind.
I think they said that it was, for the Atlantis crew, it was 6 hours. And for Shepard, it was 6 months.
Yeah, at one point they say it's like 250 times faster, but it could be even more than that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting stuff.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Well, before we go, we'd like to take a moment to thank our patrons who make it possible for us to create Secrets of Stargate, including Michael F., Jonathan R., Father Andrew K., Raymond L., and Debbie A. Their generous donations at sqpn.com/give make it possible for us to continue the Secrets of Stargate and all the shows at StarQuest. And you can join them by visiting sqpn.com/give. And be sure to follow the show on Apple Podcasts, TuneIn, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and you can find our video versions at youtube.com/StarQuestMedia. To find previous episodes of Secrets of Stargate and to send feedback, please visit sqpn.com/Stargate. You can email us at stargate@sqpn.com and follow StarQuest on social media at facebook.com/StarQuestMedia or on X at SQPN. And we'll be back next time when we'll be discussing the next episode of SG-1, Ripple Effect. Until then, Jeff Haecker, thank you for joining us and sharing the Secrets of Stargate.
Thanks, Jack.
And Lisa Jones, thank you too.
Thanks, Jack.
And Victor Lambs, thank you as well.
Thanks, Jack. And hey, it's Malp on a stick. Only shows you so much.
We could all do with a Malp on a stick from time to time.
Yeah.
It'd be good for clearing out clogged drains.
Yeah.
And once again, I'm Jack Barruzini. Thank you for listening to The Secret of Stargate on StarQuest.
Anyway, I'm sorry, but that just happens to be how I feel about it. What do you think?